Hi, it's Adele Michael, and I'm back with another in our series of Unraveling Self-Stopping. And today we're going to tackle a big one, and that's shaming. You may know the work of Brene Brown, and if you don't, please check her out. She has so much to say from her research and her teaching about the effects of shaming, and it's extremely impactful on us, and that's why I want to talk about it today, so that you can locate where you may be shaming yourself, and I'll do a clearing a little bit later, so that you can get free of that and take on more action for your dreams and desires. So, what access consciousness, and we'll be using some of that today too, accessconsciousness.com. What they say is that if it's a lie, it feels heavy. And so that would mean that if you've been shamed, you've been lied to, and it feels heavy, and it stops you. So, I think it's really easy to be ashamed of who you intrinsically are. So I'm a very sensitive person. I'm sensitive emotionally. I'm highly intuitive, as you probably are as well. And that wasn't really valued in my growing up time. And I know now that I may have said some things, pointed out some things to my family that they weren't really interested in hearing. And so they would say, oh, you're too sensitive to other people's emotions, so we would rather you be quiet. So I took on that shame. I felt shamed. I did not feel seen or heard, and I took that on as a reality for me. And now I know that that's a lie, and I've done the work that I can do to unravel that so it no longer stops me, and it's an ongoing process. If you've been abused, and I know many people have been severely abused or abused in many ways, sometimes people take that on as it was their fault, or they were told, you made me do this. That's a really classic lie. No, I did not make you do it. You chose to do it, and I was the recipient of it. So if you've been abused, there may be shame involved. It can be really mundane. Like, for instance, my mother is a really good cleaner, and it's really important to her. So cleaning is a really activity that she pays a lot of attention to, and she has eagle eyes, and she can see the dust and the dirt, and it bothers her. I get it. I am not a good cleaner. I never have been. And I'm a tidy person. I like things to be neat and organized. So my mother's a good cleaner, and I'm a good neat and organizer. So together we actually work really well. I don't bother her piles of paper, and I try not to get upset when she tells me to be a better cleaner. But even in a mundane situation like that, I can shame myself into thinking, oh, I'm not a good cleaner. Oh, my mother would be disappointed in me. It's just how we do things. So that's something else that I can lighten up on and clear. What about money shame? Oh my gosh. That can be deep. It can be really deep. Like, I haven't made enough money. I don't know how to make more money. I don't handle my money well. And shaming can come into that. When I was 6, I didn't really get an allowance, but somehow my mother gave me $1. And we went to the drugstore, and I bought one of those bobble-headed dogs and put it in the back seat of the car while going home. Well, she saw it, and she freaked out. She was like, what did you do? I said, well, I bought it with the $1 you gave me. And she said, I didn't want you to do that. I was like, well, I didn't know. I didn't have any training in money. What was I supposed to do? Save it? Or give it back to her? I don't know what I was supposed to do, but I felt ashamed of how I spent my money. And that's something that, again, that I'm sure she didn't mean to shame me, but I did feel shamed. And that's something that I've been unraveling for myself. The last thing I want to mention is most of the people I work with are highly intuitive. And in this culture, intuition is not as honored as logic and analysis. So I was thinking this morning, if I lived back in the days when people didn't have radar, and they didn't have television, and they didn't have, weather predictors and all this technology we have now, they really chose, and they needed to depend on their intuition. I thought, yeah, I would have been a much more valuable person in my society, because I maybe have been able to predict the weather, or I could say, oh, there's a storm coming, or there's an army coming, or we need to go hide in the hills. So honoring your intuition is another place to release the shaming. So let's move into our clearing. And again, this is a dowsing bobber that I like to use. And when it goes counterclockwise, it's clearing. And when it goes clockwise, it's infusing. So we're going to start with clearing where you do not perceive and receive your value. Perceive and receive your value. And this is an access consciousness statement. Anywhere where you're not receiving and perceiving your value, delete and destroy across all time, space, dimensions, and realities. Good, bad, right, wrong, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. That's the clearing statement from Access Consciousness. If you want to understand what it means, you can go to accessconsciousness.com and search for the clearing statement. And there's a lot of information about that. And basically, it's a magic wand to clear things. So we're continuing to clear where you do not perceive and receive your value. Whew. Okay. And now we're going to infuse honoring who you are. Honoring who you are. Because the whole point of this is other people can say things to you that may make you ashamed, but you have to buy the lie. You have to agree with them. And so if you're not agreeing with them and you're actually honoring yourself, your value, your talents, your innate skills, your uniqueness, then you don't have to agree with them, and shame can slide off of you. Okay. Ooh. You may or may not feel anything, but it is working for you, because it's an energetic clearing and infusion that helps your energetic body, your subtle bodies as they're called, to accept something new. Okay, well, obviously, let's release some shame. Notice in your body, or in your mind, or in your emotional body, in your feelings, where you might feel ashamed of something. Where might you feel ashamed of something? And you may not know exactly what it is. It might just feel like a lump or a block or something that just doesn't feel very good. We're just going to allow that to begin to dissipate, release, and dissolve. Sending that energy back to the light for repurposing. You don't need to hold it in that form anymore. Oh. Anywhere where you're holding shame about your unique, innate self, delete and destroy across all time, space, dimensions, and realities. Good, bad, right, wrong, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Ooh, good. Okay. So let's infuse in self-love. Self-love for the uniqueness, the magnificence, the true essence of who you are. Recognizing and appreciating and honoring your unique self. That's where we have to start. We can't control what other people's judgments are or what they might want to say about us, but we can stand in our core of truth, our core of honor, and our core of appreciation. And feel that now. Feel, I'm going to stop bobbing for a minute. In your middle of your head, in your heart, and in your pelvic area, about 3 inches below your navel and inside your body. That's what we call vertical core in the art of feminine presence. So if you can line up your head, your heart, and your abundance center, which is in your pelvis, feel that lining up. And notice if you feel more solid and secure in your own uniqueness. We're just going to continue to empower that. Good. Okay. I think we'll circle right back to sending any more lies that you've been shamed with or abused with, sending that back to the light. And it really is okay to let it go. You know, I have a pet peeve. One. I only have one. Just kidding. You know, people say, oh, just go be yourself. Just go be yourself. That's the way to success. Well, it actually is one of the hardest things to do because we've been shamed into thinking that our unique self, our essential self, is not enough. So anywhere where you've bought the lie that being yourself is wrong and shameful, delete and destroy across all time, space, dimensions, and realities. Good, bad, right, wrong, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And any tentacles that are down in your nervous system, because this could have been laid down really early and it could be part of how you process things. Whew, okay, good. And again, let's infuse self-acceptance, self-appreciation, and self-love deeply and completely now on all levels, lifetimes, languages, resolving all the history so that you know that you are magnificent, you are abundant, and you are perfect just the way you are. Good. Okay, so that's our session for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Please, if this is on Facebook for you, please leave a comment or send me an email if you're getting this as my newsletter. And I really appreciate you and wish you a great week and a lot of self-appreciation. Talk to you next time.